Every fall, in areas of the country where the trees lose their leaves, homeowners and landscape companies rush to clean them up, blowing them, raking them, bagging them, and sending them to the trash. There's a push underway to convince people to simply leave the leaves. It's an easy way out of all this time-consuming work, and it's critical for many animals that depend on the leaves to survive. Hello, I'm Sandra Levine, host of Still Time for Joy. My guest today is Jean Epiphan, an agriculture and natural resources agent with Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Morris County in New Jersey, an International Society of Arboriculture certified arborist, and a New Jersey licensed tree expert. Welcome to the show, Jean.
Thank you for having me.
So lately, I'm hearing more and more a chorus from environmental groups to ask people to leave the leaves. What's going on?
Well, there's so much going on. It's very important for us to learn how to get back to nature for the health of our environments and for the health of our communities. And so leaving the leaves can provide a very impactful benefit for everyone if we do this on a larger scale.
Now, I know you have a Master of Science in Ecology, and we hear so much about insect populations collapsing. How can leaving the leaves help, not just insects, but actually the soil first?
All plants have evolved with their own leaf litter to provide nutrients, to nourish the soil at their root systems. For millions and millions of years, they've adapted to do this. And our soil is not just this dirt, it's actually a living ecosystem. So leaf litter feeds that system annually. And when we take it away, we're actually taking away the nutrition of that living soil and the nutrients provided to those plants. And just another added layer to this is when we have a healthy soil where leaf litter is being annually input. It's being utilized by different parts of the soil food web. That living soil food web with microbes like bacteria and beneficial fungi, they're all part of sequestering carbon. They help to reduce climate impacts in this way on a larger scale. So there's many layered benefits. But back to the soil and plant health, they've evolved together. They come together. So when we remove leaf litter, we reduce soil health, and then we actually end up hindering our plant and tree health.
So we're going to talk today about how leaving the leaves can benefit insects, benefit mammals, and even benefit people. But first, this obsession with a neat and tidy yard. Is this a new thing?
The tidiness of yards kind of boomed with the boom of suburbia. And this thought of having, a lawn and picket fences and children playing in this lawn and these perfect homes, and yes, it feels and seems beautiful, but lawn is also an artificial system that humans created. It's essentially having a living carpet, and that lawn is not conducive with the health of our ecosystems. It actually decreases the health of our ecosystems. It decreases biological diversity. So while having this picture of like the American dream from, post World War II to have your yards and your clean, picket fences and such, it ends up working against what we really need to be promoting for the health of our planet. And that's having living ecosystems in the yards and in the properties that we take care of and manage.
So let's talk about insects now. You hear people lamenting the fact that there are fewer fireflies. I live in a neighborhood where I used to walk every day in the evening, and there would be bats by the streetlights in my neighborhood. And for the first year, this year, I didn't see one bat. And that means that there are fewer insects. So we definitely are seeing insect populations decline. Can you talk to me a little bit about that And also how leaving the leaves more detail, how leaving the leaves benefits insects, please.
A lot of our insect decline is being blamed on the use of herbicides, but honestly, that's not the only negative impact for our insect populations. It really, leaf litter is so critical as shelter and providing overwintering and habitat for many species of insects. And not just the insects, but the ecosystems that they require, what insects feed on, what actually also eats other insects, predatory insects, etc. And so, for example, fireflies, they spend about 97% of their lifetime in leaf litter. They, for the majority of their life, they're in a larval stage. They are hunting for smaller insects and other critters in that leaf litter, and they overwinter in that leaf litter. And when we blow it away, we're blowing life away. So even if we rake it away and take it off of our properties without a leaf blower, we are no longer harboring what, for example, fireflies need, but thousands of other insect species as well. Beetles, different types of moths, and so many different species that rely on leaf litter from especially our native trees, for instance, oaks. The leaf litter is part of our ecosystem and it's part of how our plants evolved, but it's also how our insects evolved with those plants as part of our as habitat. So it's incredibly critical.
What are some of the other insects that depend on the leaf litter besides fireflies? I understand bees even need leaf litter.
For example, bumblebees, the majority of their colonies die off when it's cold, but the queen bumblebee needs to find a place to survive over the winter, and usually that's under areas where there's thick layers of leaf litter, so it's insulated, and she burrows in to hunker down for the winter time. So without having these spaces where there are natural, leaf litter as well as, natural woody debris, we lose the capacity for insects that are critical for our environment to overwinter.
Even birds and mammals want you to leave the leaves. How do leaves help them?
Many different species forage in leaf litter because they eat the insects that rely on that leaf litter as part of their shelter. There's also animals that live in that leaf litter and rely on that shelter as well, like shrews live in the leaf litter layer and they forage for insects. And they even forage for ticks. Chipmunks eat these ticks, they eat other insects, and so a lot of their life is spent in that leaf litter layer foraging. There are many, and a plethora of bird species are insectivorous, and they forage in the leaf litter to get their food sources.
What about toads,
Oh,
turtles?
yes. I mean, every small creature that belongs in our ecosystem, that's native to our ecosystems, lives in leaf litter. There's toads, snakes, reptiles. They forage there for food. They camouflage themselves in leaf litter. And if you've seen many of our species, they look like they're wearing leaf camo. So they're designed and adapted to live in these layers and be protected by them.
What about people? How does leaving the leaves help people? I know there are real concerns about gas leaf blowers, for instance.
Blowing leaves can be very detrimental to human health in a number of ways. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical practitioner, but we all have seen these articles that explain that the dust that comes up in leaf litter can impact people who have asthma. The workers who are using the leaf blowers are actually at the highest risk of intaking chemical compounds that are exuded from the leaf blowers that expend many pollutants. They can increase the risk of certain types of diseases, cancers, respiratory diseases, and in general, at risk populations include the folks that work to blow the leaves, pregnant women, young children, and elderly people and people that have respiratory issues. But also just the noise. That noise impacts our environments. That noise impacts our mental health, our focus. And, if we think about how much it irritates us, distracts us, it also is a distraction for every other living thing in our ecosystem.
So now let's talk about what to do with all those leaves. Many people have heard that leaving a thick layer of leaves on their lawn will suffocate the grass. And what should they do about the leaves that are in their yard?
Well, there's a combination of ways and strategies to leave leaves. Lawns are not a natural system. They require a lot of care, including the removal, usually, of, heavy leaf litter from the lawn. But if you have unused lawn, like a lot of our front lawns are unused lawn, we can start converting those spaces to more garden beds or places where we plant trees. Trees and lawns, they don't mix. Trees need to have leaf litter underneath their canopies. Increasing the areas where you can leave leaves is very important. So these are your garden beds, these are your tree rings. You would leave about 2 inches, no more. You don't want to overfill these areas because then it's the equivalent of over mulching. Your next bed, if you have additional leaves left and you need a place to put it, try to have a compost. It's really a great idea for your food scraps to not have that go to the landfill, and that's where you would put your extra leaf litter. Now, if you have even more leaf litter after that, your last resort would be mowing it into lawns. The reason why I don't suggest chopping up your leaves at the first go is that you're actually chopping up potentially insect habitat as well as insects in that leaf litter. So it's not ideal to do to be running over those leaves as your first step, but do that as your last step so you don't have to end up putting it to the street. And the reason we don't want to put it to the street is think about all of the transportation cost, the labor, and the pollution required to transport leaves. It just doesn't make sense for our societies to keep investing in this.
And then there are the neighbors who complain when you leave the leaves, right? What should you do about that? And what about if people live in an area where a homeowners association, for instance, is threatening to give them a fine?
It's a great idea that if you do want to leave the leaves in your yard, put signage up. Teach people about how important it is. You can even make your own signage. You can add a QR code to some of these, scientific links that are out there. Make people feel responsible for the health of their ecosystem and and teach them how important it is and that you're trying to set an example. Now, it's trickier when you live in a homeowners association. These are groups that are known for having the manicured landscapes and not a leaf in sight. But I would encourage folks, if they want to make a change, join the groups of your homeowners association that make these decisions. And hopefully talk with your cooperative extension agent, and maybe they can come down and talk with your homeowners association and help to provide better guidance on how to create a balance between a manicured landscape and an ecologically healthy one.
So, Jean, how did environmental stewardship become such a passion for you?
It did build over a long period of time, but I was really inspired when I was in just beginning college. I was taking a summer job and I was working for a landscaping company as a perennial gardener. And I felt that everything I was asked to do every day just didn't seem sustainable. We were taking care of non native plants, we were cutting them back, we were visiting every week to adjust them. It felt more that these landscapes were treated as ornaments rather than living parts of our systems. And I was inspired since then to learn about how our ecosystems have evolved and what really belongs in the state that I grew up in, which is New Jersey, what ecosystems belonged here, which plants belonged here. And so just learning about the plant world, even our geology, how soils are built, really was so humbling. But I also learned about the threats we have to our environments and our ecosystems, what humanity has already done, and how much work we have to do to steward our planet in a better way. So that is what created this drive for me to keep learning, but then to be in teaching and sharing what we can do to be better stewards of our yards, our state, and our planet.
And knowing that the fireflies, the bees, many butterfly species, moth species are so impacted by some of the bad environmental practices that we as humans have been using. Are you hopeful for the future?
I'm hopeful that more people will learn how we can all do better. With our increasing populations in the world, we know that we are overpopulated, which is causing stress to our entire planet. But we don't have to go down in flames. We could slow this trend. We could do better. We can still have generations of native biodiversity that we can preserve for our grandchildren, for our grandchildren's grandchildren. I have hope that podcasts like this and more social media, more opportunities for regular folks to take care of their yards, I hope that they will be inspired to do just a little better. And one of the easiest ways is to just leave your leaves. This is foundational, it's basic, and when I see maybe just 1 yard in a whole block where the leaves are there, like, yes, we're getting there, it's coming. But honestly, for those folks out there that don't enjoy going out in their yard, you can just be lazy and let the leaves fall where they fall. It's one of the easiest things that anybody can do in their yard to benefit our environment. So whether, you're someone that doesn't even want to step outside, just tell your landscaper not to blow them off your yard and put them in your garden beds.
There you go. It's so rare that we're told we have to do less in life rather than more. Well, Jean Epiphan, Agriculture and Natural Resources Agent with Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Morris County in New Jersey, thank you for all you do to educate people about better environmental stewardship, and thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely talking with you, and everyone, leave the leaves.
If you found today's show helpful, please share the information with someone who needs it, and follow Still Time for Joy for more practical tips on weathering life's storms, as well as inspiring stories of people who have turned their pain into purpose. Please consider supporting the work that goes into producing the show on Patreon. Follow Sandra Levine Productions on Facebook and YouTube, and learn more at sandralevine.com.